Hey guys, how you doing today? Out in the park here with my little guy. Where is he today? Here he is. Hey Milo. Milo, hey, there's a good boy, buddy. What a good boy you are. Come on, let's go. What's banging around in my head today? You know what? It is a gorgeous day out here in Toronto today. Suspiciously gorgeous. Suspiciously gorgeous enough to make me want to talk all about climate change. Ba, 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 ba. I know, what uplifting things to be talking about today. Climate change. Specifically, actually, I'd like to talk about the blockades and how successfully the media manufactured the consent of the populace. It comes down that the majority of Canadians are, in fact, against the blockades. This is 100% because the media has been completely successful in eliminating from the discussion of the blockades the issue of climate change. By framing it as a land rights issues for First Nations people, by framing it in regards to policing issues, by focusing on the illegality of the act of blockading a railway, they have successfully decoupled from the conversation the fact that the primary reason why these blockades are being pushed forward, the primary reason why these blockades are being done is because it is a climate change issue. You are shipping around coal, you are shipping around natural gas, you are shipping around all of these fossil fuels in order to get them burnt by foreign nations, spreading CO2 into our atmosphere. It is very problematic for climate change. Here in Canada, we get to deceive ourselves and believe that, oh, well, the weather's getting nicer. That must mean that climate change isn't so bad. There will be a horrific reckoning with that attitude against us, and we are going to be facing it in the years to come. The counter argument by the fossil fuel industry is 100% that, oh no, we're going to sell this natural gas to developing nations and they will replace their oil with their coal and their oil with less CO2 emitting natural gas. This, of course, is the easiest propaganda line to dismantle. All you have to say is, what's stopping these nations from burning both? What, for real? Like, what's stopping these nations from burning both? And say that to somebody when they shoot that propaganda line at you, and watch them sputter. Because that's what happens when you point out an obvious glaring flaw in a propaganda line, is that even the propagandists are left with sort of a dumb-faced speechlessness, and they come back with very stupid things like, oh, well, they don't need to because of X, Y, and Z. And the reality is that we don't have control of the resource once it's gone. Once we sell it to someone else, there is nothing preventing them from just simply burning both. Maybe they'll hold off on continuing burning their coal for a second, but they'll go back to it once the natural gas dries up, as it will. This lie and this line is being peddled to us so that we will gullibly concede and go along with the enrichment of billionaires who continuously say, oh no, it'll be good for quote unquote the economy. And as always, whenever we hear anybody say quote unquote the economy, what they're actually saying is that it'll be good for billionaires. It's not good for the rest of us. The idea that we've privatized our oil system in the first place to allow a handful of oligarchs to control it is absolutely asinine in the first place. I mean, you wanna talk about corruption. you're talking about the privatization of natural resources, first and foremost. It's really funny to me how conservatives get all up in arms about government corruption. But, oh, the privatization of natural resources, that's normal. That's not the most corrupt thing a society can do. Like, I don't understand. No, that's wrong. I do understand how we consider that to be normal. It's just incredibly dumb. It's an incredibly dumb position to take, to say that it is normal that 2-3 people have final say and final control over what's to be done with our natural resources. I just can't imagine a stupider position to take. And yet here we are. Nations that have nationalized their natural resources and use those natural resources in order to fund their society, nations like Norway, nations like Denmark, are doing far better. They're just doing far better because they have made a decision that they're going to use their natural resources for the benefit of their people, instead of for the benefit of 1 or 2 billionaires who actively abandon you the second it benefits them. As we're kind of facing this odd blockade thing, here, 1 second, we got a dog in the mix, and my guy's very skeptical. Come on, buddy, you're a good boy. I know, right? Dogs get in the mix, and then suddenly we got one dog approaching my dog, and my dog stops. He doesn't know what's going on. Oh yeah, my guy's okay too. He might bark. There's a good boy, buddy. Have a good evening. There's a good boy, buddy. Yeah, what a good boy. What a good boy. He's a little scaredy pants because he's been attacked a couple of times. And I don't see... This I think about a lot, my dog being scared of other dogs, because he's been attacked by other dogs, right? I've been attacked by people before. I've had my livelihood threatened several occasions, right? I've been outright fired on the job for standing up for my rights, for not wanting to be stolen from, for demanding that I be paid for my work. I've absolutely faced these sort of sociopathic capitalists who are more than willing to exert their authority and power in order to crush people. I've absolutely experienced that firsthand. And so it's very easy to find out who are the people who have never faced that in their lives, right? These are the pull yourself up by the bootstraps people. These are the people who have no idea what's happening outside of their bubble of influence. And when an issue like climate change, when there finally is a reckoning on it, these people are going to be completely blindsided, because they live with their head in the sand. They don't actually respect or understand science, evidence, facts. They believe angels are real, and if they don't manifest that kind of delusional thinking in their everyday life, or if they don't manifest that delusional thinking religiously, they manifest that delusional thinking secularly, right? You get stand up straight with your shoulders back. You get, oh no, it's up to every individual person to deal with what happens in the world themselves. That sounds like a you problem. This kind of delusional secularism, which is essentially a religious ideology. Your God will take care of you. The invisible hand will bestow you with riches as long as you sacrifice your life to it. That sort of overtly, obviously delusional ideology that is going to destroy this society. It's absolutely going to be a horrific reckoning. And you can just take a look, like the people who deny climate change are also the people who rob the society, who deny their responsibility to the civil society, who deny that it's the society that enriched them, or at least the society that has been structured to permit their enrichment. And then they turn around, deny that that exists because they're the best as an individual, and then do everything they can to dismantle the system that enriched them in the first place. It's this high-level delusional thinking that permits these intellectual idiots to walk through the society and sound as though they're intelligent, when really they're just the biggest fools that could be imaginable. They just talk a lot, which I've talked about before. And so, getting back to the blockade, the blockades are an act of defiance against a state and against a society that refuses to acknowledge the deadliness of climate change. Climate change is absolutely going to rip through this society, and it is going to cause us problems that we cannot even begin to comprehend. Like, look at how much of a panic we've been thrown into. Look at how helpless, look how pathetically helpless capitalist societies are against a coronavirus. The coronavirus has a lethality rate of 4%. Compared to the common flu, that's actually quite big. The common flu has a lethality rate of 0.1%. So the coronavirus having a lethality rate of 4% is very large. Apparently it's quite contagious. Many nations have quarantined themselves. Italy has completely quarantined itself. And and capitalist societies, of course, have been rendered completely helpless. They have no systems. They have no method to actually deal with a completely natural and normal outbreak like this. In fact, capitalist societies are structured specifically to spread these diseases as efficiently as possible. There's those conservative efficiencies again. Let's effectively spread disease throughout the populace. And the trouble, of course, being that the number one thing that we all should be doing is quarantining. We should have a moment where we all just stay inside and stay away. And the people who are going to have to deal with the public, who have to go outside, who have to do these things, should have severe precautions taken to avoid the spread of this disease, of any disease. But if you say that to most of the people in the society, well, then that means they can't get money to buy food, to pay for their rent. And so it's such a fool's errand. It's such a foolish thing to say to these people, stay home. And then on top of that, there's even cases throughout the States. Hold on one second. Got another dog involved here. How you guys doing? I don't even know my little guy's gonna notice. Sometimes he doesn't notice. There he notices. What a good little guy. There's a good little boy. Yeah, there's a good little boy. I know, you're such a good little boy. He's such a good little boy. So, aren't you just the best? I'm gonna give him some pets because he's such a good boy. Yes, he's such a good boy. Sorry I break these talks up with a little bit of love for my dog, but you know, you gotta love the people who are around you. That's really what it's coming down to. You gotta love the people who are around you. Because it's becoming more and more obvious that our societies, our capitalist societies, are completely fine if this disease rips through the society and does massive harm to the poor. That's fine. That's fine by the capitalists. If they actually manage to create a vaccine, right, they're going to sell it. They're going to withhold it. And it's going to cause massive damage to the society. It is going to be a harrowing experience for the poor and the working class. Another reason, of course, why we keep hearing about the coronavirus is that it has a high death rate as compared to the flu, but the people who die are over the age of 60. That's the boomers. I wonder very much if the death rate was high, but it was amongst the Zoomers or even the millennials, Would we be hearing as much about it? I wonder. I do. Because we know the society right now is divided generationally. The boomers and above are the people who vote for conservatives. You can take a look in the recent election in Britain. The split was almost 100% generational. If you were young, if you were under the age of 40, you voted Labour. If you were over the age of 60, you voted Conservative. And that divide is pretty crucial and pretty important, because that divide, the Conservative Party has always been, this iteration of the Conservative Party has gone farther to the right than any other iteration before in Canadian history. It used to be that the Conservatives were at least concerned about the well-being of the people in their society. They've stopped that. They care about the people who are directly beside them, maybe. And it really does just look like they care about themselves, and they care about the people who pay them. And that's about it. They might do a little bit of lip service, but they're more than happy to cut the services of the people that they're ruling. They've shown that. And they're going to do that to the detriment of even themselves once the reckoning for climate change occurs. And so, when we stand in the way of the system that is killing us through these blockades, when we get in the way of that, the populace, because it's been decoupled from the issue of climate change, decries it and says, this is illegal, what a stupid thing to do. Well, lots of things throughout society have been completely legal that we all know and agree are completely horrific. We all agree that slavery is wrong. It was completely legal. If a slave ran away from his master, that was an illegal act, right? Could you find somebody today who would actually say, we should return that master to their slave, or their slave to their master? That was illegal, he shouldn't have run away. Or would we say, well, the system of slavery itself is illegitimate. And if it is legal, it should be made illegal. We should rectify this illegitimate law, which we did. And the same holds true of apartheid. The same holds true of the Holocaust. These were horrific acts that were done completely legally through the legal system, that no one would stand and say, oh, well, if you tried to rescue Jews from the Holocaust, that was an illegal act. You would be killed for that, or at least imprisoned. And I'm supposed to take seriously now that stopping trains because climate change, because they're transporting CO2 generating fossil fuel that is actually going to choke the life out of us as a species. And I'm supposed to take seriously that we shouldn't support that because it's illegal. We should change the laws then. We should rectify the core issue. Why are people blockading? Why are these blockades going up? It's because it's a serious issue of climate change. And going back to the very beginning of this, you can thank our corporate media, and you can thank even the CBC, the state-run media, so that's the Liberal Party as far as I'm concerned, for completely decoupling from the conversation the issue of climate change and manufacturing the consent of the populace and ensuring that the populace bobs their head and nods along when they're asked the question, oh, what do you think about the illegal blockades? Well, most people are going to go, well, illegal blockades, like, that's bad. I can't get my LOL dolls, or I can't, you know, my kid wanted a toy. He can't get that toy. Oh, blockades are bad, right? Because people are looking barely beyond their nose, which makes sense. The system's designed to exhaust them. Imagine if we talked about climate change the way that we're currently talking about the coronavirus. Imagine if every single day there were updates and headlines about the destruction of the ecosystems in the ocean, about the rising waters wiping out populations along the equator, about the shrinking polar ice caps, about the methane bubbles that are going to pop out and just spread methane throughout the atmosphere. Imagine if we had daily headlines or at least daily updates in the newspaper about this issue of climate change. But we don't. The only reason people care about the coronavirus is the only reason we're hearing about the coronavirus as loudly and with such efficacy is because it's affecting the billionaires' bottom line. Worth pointing out, by the way, the stock market has crashed as badly as it did in 2008. Has anyone noticed? Oh, has anyone noticed? Who lost their job? Who got thrown out of their house? Where are these stories? Who's suffering? Oh, it turns out that the stock market was just a casino for billionaires the whole time. Oh. Okay, guys, this is the end of me for sure. For today, we've got to take climate change more seriously. We've got to pay attention to climate change more seriously. I understand that there's very little that we can do on a day-to-day basis. We can try our hardest, but we need to face the structure. We need to face the system. We need to come together as a people and make larger changes. It is simply not enough to say it's up to the individual. That's a coward's line. If that's what you are saying to people, or if that's what you're being told, those people are cowards. When you say it's up to the individual, what you're actually saying is, I don't want to change. If you don't change, you will die. It really is that simple. You evolve or die. That's what the earth is telling you right now. Evolve or die. And guess what? The earth doesn't care if we pick die, and it is a choice. It is a choice, and looks like we're choosing death. I would prefer we didn't. So, good luck out there, guys. Hug the people you're close to. Love them. They're very soon, they're going to be all you got. All right. Have a good one out there. Good luck.